Hello everyone, I hope you are fine and I hope you are missing your school. And this is an effort from all of us here to keep you on track while you are at home with your syllabus. So I hope you utilize these videos, you learn from them and you make best use of the time that is available to you at home now. Okay. Today we shall be learning voice change. This is an important chapter in grammar and I have already done the board work for you to save time. So voice change. While writing sentences in English, we use two kinds of voices, the active voice and the passive voice. Now the change in voice can massively alter the way a sentence conveys meaning. So when we use either of these voices, when you change them, it can alter the way a sentence conveys meaning. Right? So let's start from the basics. What is active voice? Active voice is when the grammatical subject of the sentence performs the action in the sentence. I repeat, active voice is when the grammatical subject of the sentence performs an action. Then we call it active voice. For example, let's say you saw your friend Shoham throwing a ball. So you can say Shoham threw the ball. Here, the grammatical subject of the sentence, which is Shoham, is performing the action, which is throwing the ball. This is an example of active voice. So what is the structure here? How is this sentence formed? So what is the structure of active voice? First, the performer of the action, the one who performs the action described in the sentence. So that is the subject. Then the action, so that is the verb. And then an object on which the action is acted. So that is the object. So the structure of an active voice sentence, the structure of a sentence which is in active voice is this: subject plus verb plus object. This is the basic structure. There may be other things, we shall come to that later. But this is the basic structure of a sentence in active voice. Now, let's look at passive voice. Passive voice is when the grammatical subject of the sentence is acted upon by another object. Here, the grammatical subject was the actor. It was the performer. Here, in passive voice, the grammatical subject of the sentence is acted upon by another object. So, now let's try to make, so what is the object here? The ball. So in passive voice, let's try to make the ball the subject of this sentence. So in passive voice, the same sentence will be the ball was thrown by Shoham. So this grammatical subject of this sentence is the ball. It is being acted upon. Right? And what is that action? Was thrown. And then the actor or the performer by Shoham. So this is an example of passive voice. Here, the thing acted upon is the grammatical subject of the sentence, and that thing is the ball. And here, in active voice, the performer is the grammatical subject of the sentence. So this is the basic of active voice and passive voice. As you can see, both sentences make sense in their own ways. They are both meaningful sentences. They both convey the same thing, but in their own different ways. And both are, of course, grammatically correct. Right? Now, this is the basic of active and passive voice with one example. You can find many more examples. We shall come to examples later. But before that, You may ask when to use active voice and when to use passive voice. That is a valid question that you may raise. When should we use active voice and when should we use passive voice? Now there is no clear-cut rules for this. You have to judge that which is suitable according to the context. Sometimes active voice is the more direct and concise way of saying things, but then there are areas, fields of writing where the passive voice is needed. For example, if you are describing a scientific process, you would want to put emphasis on the action and not on the actor, right? So let's take an example. Nitric acid is added to the solution. This is a scientific process, a scientific method. Now, who is adding nitric acid? The performer or the actor is not important. What is important is the action. And in such cases, we use passive voice. We leave the actor out. Whether I am adding nitric acid or somebody else is adding nitric acid is not important. What is important is nitric acid has been added to the solution. In such cases, the actor or the performer is not important. Who threw the ball? Soham threw the ball. So Soham is the actor, the performer. But here, who added nitric acid is not important. Most often in scientific processes, the performer is not important. Let's take another example. Humidity is measured every 4 hours. A scientific process. You measure humidity. Now, who is doing the measurement is not important. In this sentence, the action is important, the measurement of humidity. So, here we have used passive voice to leave out the actor. So, this can be one example where passive voice is needed. There can be another example. There can be many more examples. I'll give you just one more example. Suppose you do not know the performer who has performed the action. To write in active voice, you need to know who the performer is. There can be sentences where you do not know the performer. For example, John's phone was stolen. Now, in this sentence, you do not know. It may very well happen that you do not know who has stolen the phone. Phoneta ke churi koreche, seta tumi jano na. In that case, you cannot write in active voice. You can write that somebody has stolen John's phone, but it is better to write in passive voice. Since you do not know the performer or the actor, you leave it out of the sentence. And to leave it out of the sentence, you use passive voice. John's phone was stolen. In these two sentences, this example and the example that I gave before of a scientific process, the action is, of course, far more important than who is performing them. Right? That is why we have used passive voice. Right? This is the basic of active and passive voice. This is what is active voice and what is passive voice. I have addressed these questions. I have given examples and I have tried to explain to you when to use passive voice and when to use active voice. Right? Thank you.